I think of Daryl, of course, I think of Alex Campbell, the great Alex Campbell, because they both played an important part in my life. It was when I saw Alex Campbell for the first time when I was, say, 17, I think, in a folk club in Brighton, that I saw the person I wanted to be, insofar as there was a man playing music and making a living and traveling the world, and I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. Because I saw Alex and Daryl as a link right back to Woody Guthrie in the 30s, the first of the traveling singers, if you like, the guys that went out and sang songs and wrote songs of the dispossessed and of the ordinary people just trying to get by and raise a family. And this was in the times of the 30s, when it was really tough to be a working man in America and in Europe, I presume, too. And after Woody Guthrie, the link for me was Jack Kerouac in the 50s and the 60s, who wrote a book called On the Road, which was a really important book for the 50s and the 60s, certainly for me, because when I read On the Road, it kind of tied in with that idea of the traveling man going from place to place, picking up stories and writing poems, writing songs. And again, as I read this book as a young man, I thought, yes, I want to do that too. Kerouac was trying to seek an alternative way of life to that sort of middle American morality that was persistent in the 50s and the 60s, especially during the McCarthy era. And he was trying to seek it through reading great literature, great poetry, and trying to write in his own style, creating a new style. So in a sense, Woody Guthrie, Jack Kerouac, Alex Campbell, Daryl Adams, they were all really important people to me. Unfortunately, I never met Jack Kerouac, although I got to New York just a few months after he'd left, and then he died. But Alex I got to know very well, and Daryl too. Alex recorded a few of my songs, and it's because of Alex, actually, I got to Denmark in the first place, because he had a pretty big hit with one of my songs called It's Good to See You. But to get back to the story of how they met, Daryl was traveling around America very much the same way as Kerouac was, really, picking up jobs where he could and writing and playing the banjo. And then he got a call from Ramblin' Jack Elliott, who had gone to Paris, and said, hey, it's all happening here, come over, we can sing in the streets and earn lots of money. And in fact, that was the case. And that's where he met up with Alex Campbell, and they played all over Paris, but two places in particular was the Bar Monaco and the Café Contrescarpe. Many years later, after I'd known Daryl for some time, I'd known Alex for some time, Alex had a hard time towards the end of his life because he was living in Denmark, and the Danish people, being what they are, lovely people, they were looking after him because he got cancer in his throat, which meant that after the operation he couldn't sing anymore. And for Alex, that was a fate almost worse than death, because Alex, if he couldn't perform, was not Alex. And he was very sad on occasions in those last few years when I saw him. Some years after Alex died, I was way up in the northwest coast of Scotland. I was talking to a guy called Rab Noakes, great Scottish songwriter, good friend of mine. And at that time he was working for the BBC. I said to Rab, someone ought to make a documentary program about Alex, because there's so many stories out there in Europe, and they should be told. People don't realise here in Britain just how far Alex travelled, and the kind of gigs that he did, and the kind of love that he had from people all over Europe. And it should be mentioned, it should be put down for the record. Anyway, after the conversation, I thought no more about it. About 3 months later, Rab phoned me and said, you've got the gig. I said, what gig is that? He said, well, the BBC have agreed to the idea and they want you to do it. So I had to start thinking about how to do it. So I decided I would take a journey from the northernmost